Hey guys, this is Ray Sample with Beauty in the Wood and Eric Friels with 47K
Solutions, yes.
We're here to do a little bit of kind of a tutorial video. We're going to show you how to do our countertops today, and just kind of take a moment and introduce ourselves. So.
Yeah. So I've been doing epoxy countertops for probably 15 years. I've made every mistake in the book, and but we've got a project here that we've teamed up on. I asked Ray to come in here, and he is a master at doing these waterscape type countertops, and so this morning we're going to be pouring the lower countertops, and so we're pretty excited about it.
Super excited. I've got only 3 years, so he's got me beat, so I figured as much as I can learn from this guy, I'm going to take it up and see what we can do, so stay tuned.
Absolutely.
You know what? If we didn't have blood, sweat, and tears in this countertop,
I know.
it wouldn't be the real deal.
I know.
So here we are, just adding the tape along the edge all the way across. You'll see me kind of making sure that it's sealed and like it's not going to come away from the edge, because we don't want the resin running down between the edge of the tape and the countertop before it's had time to set up a little bit. So, and you can get an aerial view of part of this countertop. This is actually the bar that is above the counter. Client asked me to do a full-on casted ocean scene, and it's got complete with shells and sand, fiber optics, turtles, driftwood, rocks, agates, everything in it. It's just one of the coolest things I've ever been given the privilege to build. The important part about taping is making sure that it's fully sealed, because if it's not sealed, then the resin can actually kind of push its way down in between the tape, and if the resin or the epoxy has not started to set up, it'll just run like water and it'll flow, and so you lose a lot of the edge and it doesn't give you as good a solid a coating. So you want it to kind of sit for about 45 minutes to an hour after you pour the top, and then the resin will turn into almost a honey consistency, a much thicker consistency. And then you can pull the tape on the edge and it will flow very slowly down the edge, and you can manipulate it, and it'll be a much stronger and a little thicker edge on the edges. So, very important. We'll get into this a little bit later on in the video as well, but this is actually an incredible sink that I built using particle board. And so what we're doing is we're making an undermount sink in the kitchen countertop here, and we're actually creating a dam for our resin that we're going to pour onto the countertop itself to flow in and collect inside of, so that after we have allowed the resin to sit for a bit, we'll be able to take the dam off and it will flow and coat the edges. So as it flows and coats, I'm probably not going to be able to talk about it as we're doing it, because we're going to be super busy trying to figure out how to do it. But as it flows down the edge, we're going to take our gloved hands and kind of manipulate it and maneuver it around and coat the entire surface so that it will be fully coated, and then we'll allow the veins that we pour in to follow in as well and kind of flow down into the sink, so it'll tie everything in together. So,
Just about ready to rock and roll.
Let's rock and roll. So to catch you up, we are donning the gloves. Did you get it on your thumb?
I did.
Next step is we're going to mix up the resin. We're going to show you the process on that, show you some tips and tricks on how to make sure your edges are scraped and brought in so that you're not stuck with sticky resin or tackiness at the end of your job, which is probably, I'd say, probably pretty close to one of the most important things in resin is the mix itself. Because if you get the mix wrong, nothing else works.
Yep. Believe me, I've been back and had to scrape.
Oh, same. Yep. Had a table go south on me with that, and it was
328.
320
something. Roughly.
So these hold 128. So this is actually a 2-to-1 mix ratio with epoxy. You've got a part B and a part A, and there are 2 parts of A to 1 part B. So we're going to actually start off with, and these are stupid measuring. I hate these buckets because they actually don't get through. The 48 doesn't get doubled after that. It goes up to 128 and stops. So I generally will do the 48, and then I'll just pour it up to this line right there, and that works for me. There's kind of a, I don't know if you can see, but that little lip right there above the 128. So that usually mixes and cures really well for me. So we're going to pour 48 into this one, 48 into this one of part B, and then we're doing what, 20? We're doing the 18 of this one? The 16 of this one, or do we need, because I'll give us...
Yes, we'll do 16.
240 plus 6, let's see, 16, 22, 6.
So we said like 2.5 gallons, right?
Yeah. So 56 plus 128 plus 128. A little bit of math.
6.
You just never know if we have a leak or if we have something, or if we want extra color, or if we want just let it have a little bit.
Yep.
So we're going to do 48, 48, and 32. So in case you missed any of that, it's a 2-to-1 mix ratio, which means 1 part B, 48 ounces, plus 2 parts of A, which would be 96 ounces. Total equals 144 ounces mixed together. So that'll give you kind of an idea of what we're doing in each bucket. So as we mix, you'll see him going around in circles, hitting the outside edges of the bucket to make sure that he's getting the resin off of the edge and pulling it into the mix. Otherwise it can cling and create tackies, and he'll actually use a stick to also pull that in as well in the mix to make sure it's really good and completely mixed up. After we do this, then we're going to add our pigments, and we are using white completely opaque pigment from Ligari. We do not want any translucence. We don't want to be able to see through this to the under piece. Even though we have it already painted white, we want a solid pigment base in our resin. So we're using white, and then we're going to be adding other colors to the mix in different sections of it. So you can see him testing that. He's testing the to make sure that you can't see the stick through the resin, and continues to mix up the rest of the colors. Our primary base color is white, but we are also adding a little bit of other colors as well, and some silver to one of them. Like that, I use it to actually create the cells, and you can kind of see if she wants to take a video of what I'm pointing at here. The cells in the ocean waves. The Resi Blast actually is what I put into my white to get it to pigment out and kind of cell out a little bit for the ocean wave itself. So. I love you, honey.
I just realized I forgot to hit record for like the last 2 minutes.
Oh no!
So you might be a brief stirring, that's all.
A brief stirring?
Yeah, you might only get a couple of minutes of brief stirring.
That's okay. We'll go back and talk a little bit more. We're doing a couple of different colors. I don't know what you have heard or what you haven't heard, but I'm sure we'll do some voiceover for this too. So.
Oh yeah.
That looks good. One of the things we're checking for is to see if you can see the stick through the white. And at this point, it's fully coated. So I'm happy with that. So here we are, still mixing. I'm getting awfully close though to being ready to pour. We're doing a little bit of final test of making sure there's no dust or anything. And here we go. So this is one of the different styles. There's so many different styles to pour, but this one is basically simply a flow in of the different colors, allow them to kind of come together, flow into each other, and kind of keep a line up of your resin so it follows through. I don't even know how to really describe it. Just kind of watch and see. You'll see the silver line there. It flows all the way through, and it's just going to be really beautiful. You just want it to be uniform, but also kind of, you know, you want it to look natural. So as we're getting close to the end of the resin that we've mixed up, we're going and looking through, making sure that it's all like fully coated, that we've got enough resin in every spot so we don't have to try and pull it to different spots. Going back in, adding a little bit here and there, just kind of making sure that the coverage is fully covered and looks really good. And now we're going to bring a heat gun in and begin to soften up the lines and flow in everything, kind of get it all to flow together. So you'll see that throughout the next few minutes here. I tell you what, the worst spill I ever had, you know, normally spills happen on the edges and they just kind of flow over the edge by accident, or the tape gives way or something like that, and you're like, oh no. Well, so drills have two settings, slow and fast speed.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll use this fast speed, but very carefully. You have to build up to it because you get the resin spinning and it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I was using a number 2 high speed on this to mix it.
Yeah.
Well, I accidentally left it in high speed, and I didn't check the drill the next time I went to start mixing, and I just went straight in to high speed when it was up near the top. It's just
Flood resin everywhere.
Resin of resin
In your eyes,
everywhere.
your
It
mouth.
was not quite the mouth, thankfully, but like the whole, like it was just everywhere.
Yeah.
It was on her windows. She had to scrape it off the windows. It was.
I came over to the house and I was like, why are your underwear in the garbage?
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was.
I had a large pour one time. I had a 5-gallon bucket. I had probably 3 gallons in that bucket.
Uh-huh.
I was just, and it was like all one color.
Yeah.
For my base coat, right? And the handle broke.
Oh no.
So I was tipping it, the handle broke, and it just went all over. It went all over my pants, my shoes, the floor. I was scraping it off because I was trying to save some. It was fun.
Yeah, that's. I actually think that's worse. You lost more resin than I did.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's not fun when those things happen. But
Nope.
you can come back from them, however.
Yes. If you don't quit, you just keep on swimming.
Yep. Just keep swimming. Oh, now we're pulling out Dory
Yes.
references. Oh boy.
Okay, so you need white?
Yep. And I do have that in 2, just so you know.
What's that now?
Setting is in 2 if you go to start mixing.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you.
I tell all of that story just to go ahead and do it to you. I think I used 4 pair of gloves on this particular counter. Gloves are very important. Sometimes they just get too sticky. You got to take them off and start a new set, especially when you go after pouring and then you go back to mixing a new bucket. You're trying not to get it on everything that you touch. But yeah, gloves are very important with resin. Otherwise, it'll stick and it's not easy to get off the skin. Not easy at all. To go ahead and just kind of spread it out a little as it goes.
Yeah.
That'll also give you a good gauge as to when it starts to kind of pack up too.
Yeah. And I think too, it helps it flow a little bit more uniformly when it's a little wet already, you know?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you'll notice that on the front of the counters too. When we take the tape off, the initial flow wants to like turn into like these little drip lines. And
Yes.
if you run your glove across the edge and,
Yep.
and
Get it
even
all-
that out,
Get it wet, it'll,
take care of that issue.
yep.
There's not really a whole lot to say during this portion except that it's just, you know, you continue to pour and flow and make sure that you're sorry about that. Just make sure your counter is fully coated and that you don't have any spots that are too thin. You know, so just keep pouring. So you'll see some of these bubbles in here. You'll also notice when we do this is an isopropyl, 99% isopropyl alcohol. And I'm going to go ahead and spritz this and spray this over what we've poured so far to get rid of these bubbles. Ready? You'll also notice that it will help to kind of break out some of these cells even more. So now we are ready to come in and add the teal turquoise vein that is going to be the dynamic pop in this countertop. You can already see we've added just a touch, but we're kind of adding in that vein. Very, very minimal. I don't want to add too much on this one. I want it to be very minimal. But you can see it's a little bit of a tedious process because you don't want it to look unnatural. So you're trying to follow kind of the silver area, the edge of the silver a little bit, kind of just add it in. And he's going to bring, Eric's going to bring the heat gun around behind just to touch slightly, allow it to flow out. Not very much, just a very, very, very minimal amount. So. You ever get so excited you start to like shake or like tingle a little bit?
Like, when I'm around Katie, or are we talking or resin? When we're doing resin.
Well,
Girls or what are we talking about?
well, technically, I was talking a little bit about like the whole idea of because of how minute the movement is and trying to get it to be just perfect.
Yeah.
But girls too. Yeah.
That's a given.
My God.
Right.
I mean, if I could, I'd show them all who's behind the camera. So that'll have to come later.
Or never.
She goes or never. All you have to do is listen to her voice and you can tell. How's the flow on that?
I think
Give it a little more time.
I think it's looking good. I almost think we could pull this tape. I don't know. Maybe come see what you think.
Okay. I do. So I've
It's
recently I've discovered that it's actually like you have a lot more time than you think you do.
yes. I will oftentimes wait a good hour.
Yeah, and if it starts to get to the point where you're like scared that you're gonna lose it, you can actually kind of heat it up a little bit with a heat gun.
Yep, and
it will still, in fact, almost even better because it'll flow
it's a little
slower
it's a little thicker.
and it's thicker, so it's easier to work with.
Yep. And on this, I think it's going to look great because it's going to hide any kind of irregular
Yes. Any of those
ridges
tiny
or bumps.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait. So it's literally just particle board, Bondo,
It's
resin,
cast iron.
and
It's
glue.
cast iron.
It's cast iron.
He heated it up. and
Forged
formed
in
it.
the fire.
Yes. You would never know this was particle board. You know,
Yeah.
it's amazing the things you can do like that. And man,
It just turned out.
you did a beautiful job on this. So cool.
So if somebody wants another one, not too difficult.
Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters.
Well, we are dorks.
I know. We should get t-shirts. Dork 1, Dork 2.
Yep. Oh, that's so pretty. Adding just a touch of stripe out. Yeah, this is definitely starting to get closer to honey consistency. Okay, if you have watched it all the way up to this point, leave a comment in the comment section naming the 3 different movie references. Let's see who's heard so far. Alright, so one of the very last things I usually do with Ligari, you're not supposed to need to do this. If you have denatured alcohol, it'll pop your bubbles for you, just spritz it. but I don't have any denatured, so I'm going to use my heat torch, my fire, and pop all of my little bubbles in the top of the resin here. So that's what I'm working on right now. Yes, I am a pyromaniac, and I love fire. When you're using a torch, don't leave it in one spot, because otherwise you'll burn your resin, which I know that sounds obvious to probably most of you out there, but I have actually done that once because there was a bubble that was obstinate and it was deeper in and I didn't know how deep it was, and I tried popping it and it wasn't popping, and then suddenly I realized that I had smoke. So, move around. Seriously, we are the works. I'm.
Oh man.
It seriously looks like a cartoon where he took a hammer and smashed his thumb, and then he sticks his thumb and goes boop, and you know the red bulb is like bloop, bloop, like a light bulb.
Yes.
That's exactly what it looks like. You should tell Pam that.
Mickey Mouse hands.
Alright, so here we are pulling off the tape. You'll see how it flows down the edge. Almost immediately you can see the way the blue is flowing down that side of the sink, which is just, it's insanely, incredibly cool. I'm going to pull the tape off the front as well. You'll see it starting to flow down the edge. And see how we use our gloves to kind of prime the epoxy front edge of the counter, allowing the resin to flow down much more evenly and coat the entire surface. And that's pretty much the last thing you have to do at the end of the pour is take that tape off, prime the edge, and let it flow down evenly over the front. And here we go, the final flyby of it cured on the next day. You can see how it's flowed, just gorgeous. I just love this piece. I hope you've enjoyed watching our video. Please leave a like and a comment if you're willing, and subscribe for more videos. We'd love to see you come on back again and again and again and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching.